All right, welcome to this episode of the Coaches Show. As always, joined by head coach of the Pratt High Greenbacks, Brent Holting. Appreciate you coming in, Brent. Last week's game, recap that a little bit. Hosted Halstead here at Zerger Field for the first home game of the season, and not quite the way we wanted it to go. We've been talking all weekend about it, and fans have been talking about it, and unfortunately, these Coaches Shows just never are as fun coming off of one of those games. And I say that from my point of view, so I know how you must be feeling, but we'll recap that game a little bit here, and then we'll get into it. As I did say, Pratt ended up falling to Halstead on a dramatic fourth quarter finish of the game. 42-38 was the final score for that ball game. Still some big offensive stats for the Greenbacks. Max Uni, a big night passing, going 6 for 12, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw his first interception of the season. On the ground, again, another dominant performance by the Greenbacks, really on the ground. Uni going over 200 again, 201, and 3 touchdowns. A good night from Tay Wilson on the ground, 61 yards from him, and then 6 from Windsor. And then in the air, another big night for Tay, 5 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown, which I believe that was Tay's first touchdown of the season. So nice of him to do that at home in front of the home crowd. And then Arlie Morrell with also a big touchdown right before halftime there to kind of give the momentum back to the Greenbacks there going into that halftime break. Like we mentioned, these aren't ever as fun, but, thoughts after that game, what are your overall thoughts of the game? And then we'll kind of get into what you take away from a game like that.
We had a lot of self-inflicted errors. I thought offensively, we got stopped. We talked about it. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around. The first drive of the game, we had a penalty, got stopped. Then we had the 2 turnovers in the second half, 10 drives. And other than that, we didn't get stopped all game. We scored a touchdown every drive. And that's, it's hard to lose games when you don't get stopped very much like that. Unfortunately, we just inopportune times. We had a couple special team mistakes. And sometimes those happen. No kid is trying to do that. No kid's trying to make a mistake or align incorrectly or fumble or, unfortunately, sometimes those things happen. And so we told the kids, we take it. We talk about all the time in the program, like, it's easy to be around someone when times are good. It's when adversity hits, what are you going to do? And, my speech to him after the game was kind of, the Chinese symbol for crisis and opportunity is the same symbol. What are we going to turn this into? Are we going to turn a crisis, pointing fingers at who did what, and we all share blame, or are we going to use it as an opportunity to learn, to heal, to get better, to come closer as a team, to figure out what we need to work on, to put more attention into detail and practice at things that maybe we glossed over because we were so successful before. It's really easy to do that when you're successful, to say, coach is on me about this, but it'll be okay.
Right, that complacency is easy to set in.
It's very easy, especially with the way we played on offense first 2 weeks, and really defensively. So I think you just go back to the drawing board. You say one game doesn't define us. In life, adversity is going to hit a lot harder than it hits on a football field. And so how do you deal with it? And that, we try to turn it into a life lesson and hopefully rebound and grow from it.
Yeah, we said that in the booth that, I don't know whether it was on air or off air after that game, but we said, boy, this is things will go one of 2 ways after that, after any loss like that. You can either really get better or, it can go the opposite way. Right. What, you spoke a little bit about kind of what coaches can learn from that. What do you think your players can learn from a loss like that?
I think that details matter. We'd been on them all week about, certain, breaking their feet down blocking, well, you can get away with it with a young kid, but not a varsity kid. I think we found that out a little bit. Angles, you got to take better angles offensively. Look the ball in, catch the ball. We had quite a few drops on Friday night. Then defensively, big thing was alignment and playing. I'd been on them all week. My big speech Thursday was that offense is execution, and I think we're executing pretty well offensively. Defense is alignment and then passion and flying around. And I just didn't think we got enough hats to the football on Friday night. Credit to Halstead. They played really hard. But I didn't think we got enough hats there. I didn't think we played fundamentally sound. We weren't gap sound. We weren't reading our keys very well. I think that's, the benefit of an end zone camera like we have. We can see where their eyes are. And we weren't doing some of those things. Alignment near the, in the red zone, we never want to allow a slant. When we're man to man, we got to get up on them and not play so far back. Just little stuff, correctable stuff, but little stuff, hands on defense, getting off blocks, not getting washed, getting trapped. We got trapped quite a few times in the second half because when they leave, we need to squeeze, and we weren't. So all stuff that's correctable. Nothing that kids were trying to do. Just that you only get 8 opportunities guaranteed a year. 9 a year guaranteed, I guess. We know 8 of them. Don't take them for granted. Don't take them for granted and look back like we're going to Friday night and regret. So don't leave that one there. No, let's make sure we don't regret another one. Win, lose, or draw. Let's make sure we played the best we could possibly play mentally and physically.
Yeah, and not 9 regular season games, right, but home games even fewer than that. Right. And take advantage of those home games. Did Halstead going into that game or coming out of that game or any point during that game, did they do anything that was unexpected or that you guys did? And first of all, I want to preface, I should have probably said this before we started. I don't want to ever sound like I'm taking anything away from a team that won. Halstead, they played their butts off, played all 4 quarters. So I don't want any of my line of questioning if there's any other fans from, Halstead or, I know some other people watch this. So I don't want to make it sound like, boy, we should have won that ball game and they got lucky because it's a football game. You got to play it to win it, and Halstead played out.
They played so really hard for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I don't want anything to sound like I'm taking anything away from them. But did they do anything that surprised you or that you didn't see on film or that you came out and thought, boy, that one got us. We didn't see that one coming?
No. And that's the hard part, probably. They didn't do anything we saw. I mean, even the onside, we saw them kick 12 or 13 onside kicks in warmups, and after when it was 24-7, we said, hey, they're probably going to onside here, guys. Like, be ready. They're going to onside because they got a little bit of momentum. They need to get more. They know they can't stop us right now. Be ready for it. And once again, no high school kids trying to not grab the ball or trying. Unfortunately, mistakes just happen. That's part of the game. So we get them lined up right and play with maybe more urgency and stuff like that. No, I mean, Halstead did it. They just did a good job of doing what they do. We knew that wing counter trap was their favorite play. That was their best running play. They ran that really successfully. We knew their quarterback was really accurate. He bought a lot of time and he threw the ball really well.
We knew Braxton Creed coming into that game. He's an athlete, and he showed it Friday night. Speaking of athletes, I thought that was one of the better. I know Tay Wilson had the fumble there in the 4th quarter, but up until that point, and not that overshadows his game. Right. I thought that was his best game of the season so far for Tay.
Yeah, that was his best game of his career up until that point. And the same thing. Tay's a hard worker. Tay's a great kid. He'll learn from that, and he'll learn. We talked about he told himself going up to the line the whole time, 2 hands on the ball, don't fumble. 2 hands on the ball, don't fumble. He made a great run. We had a first down, and unfortunately, if that ball goes down, we're even if we don't score there, which I think we would have, they're getting the ball back less than 30 seconds, having to go 90 some yards. And those things just happen. Like I said, he was convinced he had 2 hands on the ball until we watched film. He's like, man, I didn't have 2 hands on the ball. I thought I did. And
just in the moment.
And not just that, we missed a blocking assignment there. We blocked in and Brock's a 3-year starter, and Brock is one of the smartest kids I know, never makes a mistake. He accidentally blocked in there. He saw something, he thought, and didn't block the D end who kind of came in. That's hard when they come in from the side where you're not expecting them instead of straight ahead, because Tay had to bounce it a little bit. And unfortunately, that was just a mental error we made. Not that Brock didn't play his rear off on that play. We asked him, hey, what were you thinking there? And he's like, I honestly do not know. I've never made that mistake. And we're like, no, you haven't. Never in practice, never. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens in games, and there's calls, I always want to have back and stuff that I would like to do. I've already thought of the last drive a few times. Man, I should have called this. Why didn't I call this when they were lining up like that? So it's all of us. It's all of us, and it's my job to get us ready and to have us there and make sure we don't make those mistakes. So ultimately, it's on me. And so I told him, we'll get better. I'll get better. We'll all learn from it, and we'll move on.
Yeah. Moving on a little bit from that, you mentioned here before we got started, and we saw you over the weekend. That was not a fun weekend. Just one of those that. But I watched the Kelsey documentary over the weekend. I don't know if you've watched that yet. The Travis and Jason Kelsey documentary on Amazon. It's really good. It gives a good behind the scenes look on the family life of an NFL player, and it made me think of high school coaches like yourself or Tyler Strong or, the players don't have kids, but you coaches, you guys have families. You got little kids. You're still Saturday morning at flag football and soccer and volleyball for these little kids. How impactful or not difficult, but what type of impact does a game like that, have on your spouses or your family, knowing that
it's hard.
Boy, we still got to get up, and Cannon and Lincoln
Right.
got flag football in the morning, and I've still got to, and same thing with your coaches'
we're
wives.
cross country.
Everybody feels that loss as well. How does that?
Yeah, and my wife does a great job of that, and that's hard. Anytime you're a football coach, you're always going to hear things if you're a coach's wife, and she does a great job with that, supporting me. She knows that I'm not real talkative after we lose, and not probably the funnest guy to be around. So she lets me come home. She lets me vent. She lets me explain plays. She's always like, I have no idea what you're talking about here, but I'm going to listen. And I, I'm very blessed. I've got the best. I know I'm partial, but I got the best coach's wife. Andrea is awesome about that. She helps get the kids around. I always always going to go. I'm not going to skip out on stuff that they do, because I think that's important. But she does a great job of probably picking up the slack on those weekends, getting the kids around. My kids, they don't have much mercy. Cannon hugged me and told me he was sorry. Lincoln told me, Dad, I'm mad at you. You lost that game. So
that sounds about right.
yeah. So I was like, well, thanks, Lincoln. I'm mad at me too. So, and he's like, well, Dad, why did you lose? Ask myself the same thing, Lincoln. So he doesn't give me much for breaks.
Yeah.
But and you know that, knowing them. So no, you try to go. You move on. I tell the kids the same thing. I'm gonna be mad about it after I watch the film, and then we're gonna talk about it on Monday. Other than that, we got to put it away and we got to move on to the next week. And that's sometimes the hardest part. You don't want. I'm on the kids all the time about don't let one bad play lead to 5 bad plays, because you're in your head. And sometimes that's really hard not to do. It's the same thing for us as a coaching staff. We can't keep getting mad about the mistakes of last week. We've got to go fix them and get better for next week.
I was going to ask you that fine line of being able to learn from last week, but also move on from it. And
I think that's Monday film. I told him, we watch it. Now this film's buried. We watched it. We picked it apart. And then 1 through 11, there wasn't a kid that didn't get something on that film, and you pick it apart, and then you say, okay, it's done. Learn from that. Learn everything we wrote on the film. We get a comment. That's the great thing about Huddle. You can comment on every play, and then we go through it on Monday and talk about it and explain our way through it. Then let's bury it. Let's take the lessons. Let's carry them. Let's bury the feeling of the game, and we move on, because we got one of the very best teams in the state this week.
I was going to say, as we segue into that, Cheney coming up this Friday night, and if you're not prepared mentally, physically, fundamentally, it's going to be a heck of a ball game, and we expect it to be. Before we get to that game real quick, let's go through awards from Friday night, anything that was handed out on your end, and we'll let you know on our end in the booth what we saw out there on the field, and see if it matched up with you, but always curious to hear what.
Well, the kids were teasing me today. They asked, and it's funny, because he really steps back from this. They're like, God, were you being nepotistic this week? But no, they all earned it. Caleb Strong was a scout team player of the week. He's done a great job there.
Attaboy, Caleb.
Working really hard, gets in on everything. And then I thought offensively, Colin Strong, Max is always there every game. Max does great things. But I thought Colin had a great game offensively, blocking. He had
there was a couple. I go back and watch some of that Huddle too, and I think we were on about the 15-yard line and ran him all the way to the back of the end zone.
And buried him. And in fact, and then late in the game, hit on the quarterback. He got the hit stick as well. Colin did. So I thought Colin had a great game offensively in there. And then I'll be honest, and the kids agreed with me. We didn't think that anyone deserved to get a special teams or defensive player of the week this week. They're like, none of us played. We're just giving an award to give an award if we do that. So we didn't.
There you go. Carry it over to next week.
Carry it over to next week.
All right. We had play in the booth. We had player of the game as Tay Wilson. Like I said, I thought he had the best game of his career.
He had a great game, too.
Just like I said, running the ball, catching the ball. Had a really great game. And then hit stick, we gave it to that. I know they ended up scoring, but they got an extra down that we didn't feel like they should have, and that's been talked about.
That was a tough one.
We gave it to that whole defensive line on that goal line,
awesome.
On that goal line stand. You do not see that very often in high school football.
And we've done it twice now. I think our defense has done a great job on their backs against the wall in those short, because that was a 3 down. They had 3 downs to get a yard, and we stopped them. Yeah, that was a tough one on film review. They called us for a face mask. It was their guy who actually grabbed the face mask, trying to pull their kid ahead, which is also illegal.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
But that's unfortunate. They called it, and it is what it is. So that was a tough one, but I was really proud of our kids for rising up there to the moment.
Yeah, I thought that was a heck of a stand. Yeah. All right, we did get One question this week from a fan, and might be able to guess who this is from or what family it's from. So we had some questions come in from the Instagram poll, and I'll give you, this is an older brother of some brothers on the team, and his question was, how do you keep the older brothers from putting the hammer down on the younger, much less athletic ones? And I was reading that verbatim, so I didn't add any of those adjectives in there.
I don't know if I'm quite so sure that they're always the much less athletic ones. We've had a few this year. It's been pretty funny at the beginning. I think we got it out of the way. First couple weeks, we had the Strongs getting a little scrap there. He was hunting him downfield, Colin was, and they got into it a little bit. And then, the Barkers, they like to hit each other. So you just let them go. You say, all right, as long as they're talking back and forth. And then you're okay until the freshman starts talking. I'm like, hey, if you're going to talk, then you got what's
coming to you.
But no, they've been pretty good. I think we got that out of the way. The newness, they wanted to get them in the first high school football. And I think that's wore off now, and they do a good job. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, actually, to be around them at practice.
Yeah, well, good. Caden, we appreciate the question there. Couldn't guess which oldest Barker that came from.
I knew right away.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Cheney. Cheney's going to come into this game 3-0 on the season, and Coach Wehrman's had quite success there at Cheney. Had some undefeated teams. Most of the times when we've faced him, we were both undefeated last year, 3-0 going into that matchup when we played at Cheney. Lost that ball game 43-21. This year we'll enter that game 2-1. And boy, Cheney is, when you look at the rankings, them and Andale have been neck and neck as far as 1-2 in that 3A ranking. So we know what to expect from a really senior heavy team. 15 seniors on that roster, led by senior Jackson Voth, who, if you don't remember him from last year, he's New Mexico State commit already. One of the best football players in the state. His older brother Harrison was an All-State 3A player of the year. So a really athletic family on both sides of the ball for Voth there, offensive and defensive, and Josh Burdick throwing him the ball there at the quarterback position. When you get a combo like that, it's tough to stop. So we've got our work cut out for us coming in here Friday night. But what's kind of the mindset leading up? It's Wednesday now, speaking with you, but what's the mindset been and the attitude been like at practice this week?
I think, once again, execution and flying to the football. They are so athletic. Not just, you talked about the both kids in Mexico State. The Messenger kid is, he's 6'3", 235, 240 that can fly. I know he's getting some looks from some pretty big colleges. The McDaniel kid's a heck of a ball player. Burdick kid is exceptionally accurate quarterback. He has that same kind of skill. Shelby does a good job there of teaching his quarterbacks. They keep their eyes downfield until they have to take off. I think he does an exceptional job of that. Keeping plays alive. He's much more athletic than you would think. He never gets a square hit on him. He's got really good hips and throws just a really pretty ball and has a heck of an arm. There's one in the Garden Plain game where he's on the far hash inside or outside of it on the 25-yard line, and he throws a completed pass on a rope. Where the guy's not waiting for it to the other 25 outside the other hash.
Wow.
So 50 yards across the field, so way more than a 50-yard throw, and puts it on the money. He's got a heck of an arm. And then they just beat you in so many ways. They're really multiple offensively, and they like to get their playmakers in space because they are, like I said, they are really, really athletic, really fast. And then defensively, the Voth kid has as good of instincts as any linebacker I've seen at this level in a long, long time. He's just a heck of a player. I'm blanking on his name, but the number 5 kid in the middle is a heck of a middle linebacker. They play their safeties up and aggressive. Their D-line plays a lot of games, and they're really aggressive, get off the ball. Of course, the Messenger kid's really tough to handle. So, yeah, there'll be a big challenge. They're going to be a big challenge for us. They're ranked second for a reason. It's well-deserved in the state. Obviously, Andale's the king. Until someone knocks them off, and they deserve and earn that perch. But Cheney's a very, very good football team, and it'll take our best effort Friday night.
Well, we're looking forward to it. A lot going on Friday night. As if you're going to come to the game, we've got the mini cheer clinic going on Friday night. It was scheduled for last week, but due to weather concerns, it got pushed to this week. So there's going to be 60 or 70 little cheerleaders running around all through the game during halftime. Also, the junior greenback football team will be running out with the team. Is that right? Coming out of the tunnel?
That's what I hear. We haven't nailed how to do that yet. But
we don't want trampled.
I read that today. Also, I think not just them, anyone who went to the junior greenback football
The camp over the summer.
The word is they're supposed to get. I received word from the rec commission today because I don't handle any of that. That the shirts were in and they were supposed to maybe be handed out tomorrow.
Good, because Crosby asks me every day, Dad,
there you go.
Are our shirts in yet?
Yeah.
So
supposedly they're in. They're getting handed out tomorrow. So also anyone who wears one of those shirts.
Okay, great. So it's going to be a great night, another great atmosphere at Zerger Field. Hopefully we can get 4 quarters in this year. Last year, that was the game that got cut short due to rain and lightning over there at Cheney. So we're looking forward to a great ball game tomorrow night, Friday night at Zerger. So come out. If you can't make it to the game for some reason, tune in to the YouTube. It'll be on the Greenback Athletics YouTube feed again. It'll be on My Country 98.3 where you can listen to it on the radio or on the app, or the best way to do it, I think, is to be there at the game. Second best is watch the stream. We've got the audio broadcast on top of the stream, and the Pratt home games always put on a good stream. So, Coach Holting, I appreciate you coming in, as always, and good luck Friday night.
Thank you.
All right.